Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I eventually watched the second episode of Lower Decks. I procrastinated for about 2 hours and took a few painkillers, anticipating the headache that would come from it, literally. And I watched it, and it could have been worse. I basically watched it for the few people who might actually watch this instead of watching it. I thought I would spare them. I felt like it was a public service. I literally was like thinking, do it for them, do it for the couple of people who will actually watch this instead of that. I wish I had more subscribers and more viewers, and then that would make it more worth suffering for. But yep, it could have been worse. I have to confess right up front, I actually was almost amused by how they totally degraded the Klingon character and made him into a drunken joke, because I hate the Klingons and I really hate the Next Generation Klingons. And just seeing him just be a complete idiot and just be a drunken mess and be treated just with so much contempt by all the Starfleet officers, I kind of like that, even though that's racist and wrong and everything, but I hate the Klingons. So I almost laughed a couple of times at some of the lines relating to him, but I didn't actually laugh. I'm fairly sure I'm going to get through this whole series without actually laughing. Okay, so the first minute had me screaming at the screen, like well, not screaming, but yelling. Yep, I'm going to say yelling. The episode starts off with a beautiful shot of the Cerritus, or whatever it's called, and it's very depressing because they do have the look of Next Gen kind of down, and it just makes you miss Star Trek even more, because it almost feels like Star Trek for a second and then you remember it's not, or you're reminded very quickly that it's not. We see a ball of light go up towards and into the ship, and it looks a lot like the one from Justice or The Child, but I think it was the one from Justice. I can't remember which alien it was. It was a trans-dimensional energy creature. And basically she knows what it is, so she grabs it and tries to stuff it in like a storage container, like the kind of thing they put like the waste in or something. And never mind, it's a sentient being, it's another, all the real world Starfleet issues she would have to actually deal with, she just ignores, of course, and just is trying to shove this alien, like just assaulting him and kidnapping him, and just because I know she thinks she can use him for something, and he offers, basically he ends up spitting out a tricorder for her, a new one with a purple stripe, and then spits out an energy cell, which is a crystal, which makes no sense, and then it zooms off into the captain, and we actually don't see where that goes. I just realised, I assumed we're going to see her singing or something. There's a shot of her, it looks like she's doing karaoke, or I assume embarrassing herself. I'm guessing it possesses her and this goes into later episodes or something. Or maybe it goes nowhere, like the little bit of light that went into Tilly. Although that kind of went somewhere eventually, I don't know. But, God. So that was just hideous, and I just had to stop. That takes about 2 minutes to get through that scene. About halfway through, I had to stop and be like, oh, how can she be this character? And she starts off, her first line is about harassing men. Like, let's go to the bar and just start an argument with like a guy just because I like to harass guys because it gets me off, basically. Like, she's just an absolute nightmare. And I'm watching this and I Facebooked this. I'm like, I'm screaming at the screen a minute into the episode. They must be trolling us fans, like, deliberately. This cannot be an accident. They're just doing this to annoy actual Star Trek fans who actually know Star Trek. That's just what it is. It's a joke. And the only relief for this episode is they make fun of the Klingons. So they're not making fun of Starfleet the whole time, because for a few minutes they're making fun of the Klingons. But basically, Boilermo, whatever his name is, gets because it has the A-B storyline like Next Gen, he gets assigned to escort the Klingon, or drop him off basically somewhere. And of course, he makes a big deal out of it, so of course Mariner has to pull strings and get put in charge of the ship and the shuttle. Now he's just the pilot for her, so of course he has to be beneath her. Of course. So, of course, she knows the Klingon. They have a blood bond or whatever, so she's all Dax, where she's like she's lived 5 lifetimes, where she's, like he points out, the same age as him. So they fight and blah, 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 and get drunk and blah, 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 and then they leave him in the shuttle. He steals the shuttle. So then they are just wandering around trying to find him for the whole episode. And they have different interactions with different people, and every time he stuffs up and she basically shows him up to be a moron, a stupid white male, all the tropes that we're getting from New Trek. And eventually, after he, screams in a fight and gets saved, and then after all that, he's so humiliated that he basically wants to leave Starfleet. He's like, I'm not Starfleet material, I can't do this, you do everything better, because he can't sort of understand her. She's a Mary Sue, so he can't comprehend how, because Mary Sues aren't real. So, of course, he can't process how she can do everything the right way and come up with every answer and know everything without actually studying or putting in any effort, because he doesn't understand what a Mary Sue is, because, he's a real person and she's a Mary Sue. And, of course, and it's so obvious that she's doing it, a Ferengi comes out of nowhere and says, "Oh, I can give you a ride." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "You can't go with him, he's a Ferengi, he's not trustworthy," because he's acting like a first season next gen Ferengi with the hands, the evil hands. And it's just like, is this, 2364 or something? What the hell is this? And obviously it's a setup. She's giving it to him. And of course he says, as a Ferengi, you can't do that. And she's like, no, it's a Bolian. Like someone in the 2023, 84? Is that where we're at now? 84? Or 83? I think it's 19 years after Next Gen. I can't remember. But basically, no way he'd believe she didn't know what a Ferengi looks like. So he, of course, falls for it because he's stupid. And then, he saves the day by basically pulling out Starfleet regulations and saying, where's your code for your shuttle or whatever, if you've really got a shuttle, blah, blah, blah. And, exposes him and shoots him and saves the day, and then brags, and then he goes back to the ship and he's bragging about how she didn't even know what a Ferengi looks like, how dumb is she, miss, knows everything. And of course she, almost in a human moment, she's actually giving this to him, to give him something, because of course she has to build him up, because he's nothing, and he's nothing without her building him up, because that's like part of the narrative of New Trek, that women have to build up men because men are just stupid and useless, which is so sexist and cringy and some weird agenda. And it really is. I know people say that, and it gets to become like a cliche in itself, but it really, that they just keep doing the same thing in every new Trek. Every New Trek has a female character saving, educating, or giving someone a male the permission to be who they are, or who they should be, or to improve, or it's just becoming a trope and a cliche within New Trek. And not a good one, not a fun one. So yep, now the other story I almost liked, because I actually like Tindy and I like Rutherford. I like her enthusiasm. I don't find her annoying or obnoxious. I would be like that if I was on a starship. I'd be walking around like, oh my God, it's so amazing. I would be that person. I forgive myself for that. And Rutherford, he just is happy doing what he does, and he's good at what he does. But because she asks him to watch some space anomaly thing with her, he can't because of his shift, because he's just loving his engineering and just doing all this extra work. So he actually leaves engineering and basically goes around the whole ship trying all the different departments so he can have different shifts, so he can have time to spend with her. And none of them work out. He even though he uses his, and this makes no sense, he uses his implant to become like an action fighting machine to kill like all the Borg in a simulation and impress security. He doesn't go with security. His bedside manner is awful in medical. He basically makes the guy terrified when he's supposed to be comforting him. And nothing works because he's meant to be in engineering. And he ends up back in engineering, and she's fine. She's like, oh, we can just watch it on the pad. So they end up, he's doing his work, just loving it, and you know, I like him. I do like that character. I can't believe there's an actual character in new Star Trek I actually like. And she's just watching the some sort of, I can't remember what it was, some sort of star happening on the pad, and they're quite happy. And I'm like, I like those characters. If the whole show is on them and just the new ensign being on the ship and then meeting someone, blah, blah, that would be fine. But no, we have to go with obnoxious, abusive Mary Sue, POC Mary Sue. I'd rather be with the alien and the cyborg, who is also a POC. So, you know, why not? But no. Okay, so that's what happens. That's what happens in the episode. There's nothing new so far as to bitch about, complain about. I mean, this character is hideous, and of course, she is the best ever. She is the Mary Sue. She's perfect, and she has to, you know, teach him how to be everything, and just it's cringe. It's just don't know what else to say, but it's almost nice sometimes, though, to have things look like Starfleet, like I said, but then it does just make you miss real Starfleet and real Star Trek and stuff. But it just does remind you that it's still possible if they just dropped all the stupid tropes and sexist stuff, hating men, all that, and just treated everyone equally and just focused on the stories and let the characters just sort of tell the stories rather than just... They could do a good Star Trek. It's not like they couldn't, and it's like I said, it's really cruel because it's like teasing, like, oh look, this is what you could get if we actually wanted to do Star Trek. But I'm going to go, all I'm doing is whinging and planning and bitching and, you know, fanboy tears. I don't want to give them fanboy tears because they're just going to enjoy them. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, and thank me for watching it so you didn't have to. I'm going to go. Bye.